Long before coins, banks, or prices entered human imagination, societies encountered a limitation rooted in human nature itself: the inability of trust and memory to govern exchange once communities expanded beyond the narrow circle of personal knowledge. Welcome to History and Society, where history is explained through the systems of money, belief, power, and ideas that shape civilization. In humanity's earliest communities, exchange required no abstraction. Life was intimate, memory was shared, and obligation rested on familiarity, where each person's word carried weight because it was reinforced daily by recognition, proximity, and the quiet pressure of reputation. Such an arrangement could endure only while societies remained small. Trust functioned as a natural bond, sustained by repeated contact, where dishonesty threatened survival itself, and unpaid debts lingered safely within a web of mutual dependence and shared social memory. Growth altered this balance. As strangers entered economic life, personal memory thinned, reputation lost authority, and barter revealed its fragility, exposing a deeper truth: that civilization required a system capable of preserving trust when human relationships could no longer carry it. Barter, often imagined as humanity's original economic system, was never designed for scale. It demanded coincidence of wants, constant negotiation, and immediate settlement, conditions manageable among neighbors, but exhausting and uncertain among distant or unfamiliar partners. As trade expanded across villages and regions, exchange became less about need and more about coordination. Goods moved farther than stories, and transactions occurred between people who would never meet again, removing the social penalties that once restrained dishonesty. This transformation created a dilemma. Societies needed a way to measure value without personal judgment, to settle obligations without shared history, and to enable cooperation without requiring trust between individuals who had no reason to trust one another. Money emerged as the quiet answer to this dilemma. It did not eliminate mistrust, nor did it create fairness, but it replaced personal memory with a shared system, allowing value to be recognized without familiarity and exchange to proceed without intimacy. At its core, money was never a thing but an agreement. It represented a collective decision that certain objects, symbols, or records could stand in for trust itself, carrying obligations forward in time without relying on human remembrance. By standardizing value, money freed exchange from endless negotiation. Prices replaced haggling, units replaced favors, and transactions gained clarity, making trade faster, broader, and less dependent on personal relationships. More importantly, money allowed debt to exist safely between strangers. Obligations could be delayed, transferred, or settled later without threatening social collapse, because trust had been embedded in the system rather than the individual. This shift reshaped human behavior. People no longer needed to remember who owed them, nor worry about enforcing repayment through social pressure. The system remembered on their behalf, quietly and impersonally. Money also altered how societies perceived fairness. Value became numerical rather than relational, measurable rather than negotiable, creating the illusion of objectivity in exchange, even though underlying inequalities persisted. As markets formed, money enabled specialization. Individuals could focus on a single craft, knowing their output could be exchanged reliably for everything else they required, no longer constrained by the limits of direct barter. With specialization came productivity, and with productivity came surplus. Societies grew wealthier, not because money created resources, but because it allowed coordination at a scale previously impossible. Yet this efficiency came at a cost. As money replaced personal obligation, relationships weakened. Exchange became transactional rather than communal, separating economic life from moral accountability. Where reputation once governed behavior, rules and enforcement took its place. Contracts replaced trust, and institutions emerged to manage disputes that personal relationships could no longer resolve. Money thus encouraged the rise of authority. States, temples, and later governments positioned themselves as guarantors of value, issuing currency and enforcing its acceptance to stabilize economic life. If these reflections help you see history more clearly, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so future explorations of civilization systems may quietly reach you. This relationship between money and power proved inseparable. Whoever controlled the system of exchange gained influence over society itself, shaping behavior not through force alone, but through economic dependence. Over time, money became a tool for accumulation. What began as a mechanism for cooperation evolved into a means of storing influence, allowing wealth to persist across generations and outlast individual lives. This persistence changed how humans related to time. Labor performed today could secure comfort tomorrow, altering incentives and encouraging long-term planning previously limited by fragile social structures. Money also enabled abstraction. Value could now exist independently of physical goods, represented by symbols, records, and promises, allowing economies to grow beyond tangible exchange. As abstraction increased, money distanced people further from production. Individuals no longer saw the labor behind goods, only prices, reinforcing the system's efficiency while obscuring its human foundations. Despite its impersonality, money succeeded because it aligned with human limitation. It accepted that memory fades, trust erodes, and relationships cannot scale indefinitely, and it built a structure around those constraints. Civilizations that mastered monetary systems expanded. Those that failed to regulate them fractured under instability, inflation, or loss of confidence, proving that money functioned only as long as belief sustained it. For money, unlike food or shelter, has no intrinsic value. Its power rests entirely on collective faith, fragile yet resilient, capable of collapsing suddenly or enduring for centuries. This reliance on belief made money both stabilizing and dangerous. When trust in the system held, cooperation flourished. When belief faltered, economies unraveled with startling speed. Throughout history, societies repeatedly reinvented money not to enrich themselves, but to solve recurring coordination problems arising from growth, distance, and complexity. Every new form, whether metal, paper, or record, reflected the same purpose: to preserve trust beyond the limits of human relationships and to enable exchange among strangers. Modern economies, despite their complexity, remain bound to this original function. Beneath layers of finance and technology, money still serves as a substitute for memory and a bridge between unknown individuals. When systems fail, it is rarely because money disappears, but because belief in its reliability weakens, reminding societies that the system is only as strong as the trust it represents. Understanding why money exists reveals something deeper about civilization itself. Progress depends not only on tools or intelligence, but on systems that compensate for human limitations rather than denying them. Money did not create greed, inequality, or ambition. These existed long before it. What money did was amplify human behavior by removing the constraints once imposed by personal relationships. In doing so, it made large societies possible. Cities, trade networks, and global exchange emerged not from trust between individuals, but from confidence in shared systems. This transformation altered the moral landscape. Actions became detached from faces, consequences from intentions, and responsibility from proximity, reshaping how humans related to one another. Yet without this detachment, civilization could not have grown. The same mechanism that weakened intimacy enabled cooperation at unprecedented scale. Money, then, is neither villain nor virtue. It is a reflection of human constraint, a tool designed to manage the limits of trust, memory, and social reach. As long as societies expand beyond personal knowledge, money remains necessary. Not because humans are immoral, but because they are finite. Civilization advances by building systems that outgrow individuals. Money stands among the earliest and most enduring of these systems, quietly sustaining cooperation where human nature alone could not. In understanding money's origin, we understand civilization's central tension, the balance between human connection and systemic coordination. And in recognizing the problem money was created to solve, we see why, despite its flaws, no complex society has ever existed without it. If you value thoughtful examinations of history's deeper structures, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, allowing these long conversations with the past to continue.